welcome to the Geeks Who Like Sports Mashup. Every week we combine our favorite stuff from geekdom and sportsdom, typically based on topics we talked about during the week's regular show. As always, I am Ray Carsillo. That's Lee Elias, my best friend. Lee, we got a great one for the folks this week. Which sports time period would make the best open world video game? This is in honor of Star Wars Outlaws, and of course, just generally talking about the football season this week. A lot of stuff happening. Actually, when this airs, the first two NFL games will already have been played.
Dun, dun, dun.
Your Eagles, I think, will lose to the Packers. I'll say this: your Eagles will have lost to the Packers in Brazil. We'll see what happens.
Can't wait for that to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I still think your Eagles are going to go 12-5 and win the division, though. But anyway,
we'll see. We'll see who's more upset about being down there. No, listen, I'm excited about this one, Ray, because I was thinking you were playing Star Wars Outlaws and you were talking about your love of exploring open worlds, and it made me think a little bit about. There's some pretty interesting time periods in the history of sports. Maybe we'll go in like 10-year increments, like it's a decade type situation, or just a time period in general.
Sure.
In the sports world, it's funny because when I started thinking about like navigating certain things, like there could be an amazing game of like navigating baseball, like Negro leagues to the MLB. I mean, that's what that's interesting. There's like the old Murderers Row Yankees time period, right?
Yeah.
I had a bunch of ideas. I think I do know. And so what you have to explain here, Ray, is obviously the time period. Are you in the point of view of an athlete, the point of view of a owner, like, who you playing as, basically? And then what's the story and what's the outcome? Ray, you're up first.
No, I mean, that's the thing is like what would be the best time period? I think now is it like a time travel thing? Like where I go back from the future to the past to where like to live that period, or is it set as I'm somebody who grew up in that
you're
period?
There, right? So if it's the 1930s, you're born in it's the 1930s, you're there.
Because like I don't know, like it's hard to say. Like I'm thinking either the 70s or the 80s. Because those were great times for New York sports, right? You have Reggie Jackson coming to the Yankees. You have the rise of Lawrence Taylor and the Giants. You have, I mean, it would be great in the 70s too, because you could maybe even still institute a salary cap in baseball before things go out haywire, and then they try to fix it with a luxury tax 30 years later, and it doesn't work, and it's still there's a weird imbalance in the entire sport. Anyway, but yeah, I think. I'm gonna say if I can, like 1975 to 1990.
But who are you? Are you an athlete? Like who are you playing as? Are you Steinbrenner? Like who are you in this game?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, could you imagine being Steinbrenner?
You can be a GM.
Like, you get banned from baseball for a couple of years, then you go play yourself on Saturday Night Live.
It writes itself.
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing to be one of the I mean, to be this actually, yeah. Steinbrenner in the early 70s. Well, I'll say the 70s. George Steinbrenner in the 70s, buying the Yankees and then rebuilding the Yankees into the team that would win back-to-back World Series and go to 3 out of 5. Or go 4 out of 6 if you really wanted to. Because they also went in 76 before losing to the Big Red Machine. That's it. George Steinbrenner, 1970s, rebuild the Yankees. In the Bronx Zoo in the 70s. The Bronx was crazy in the 70s. Still crazy, but really crazy then. That's what I want. New York Yankees, 1970s.
I like it, Ray. I like it. Well, when I thought about this, there's a few interesting time periods. I'll tell you the one I picked, which I think you'll love as well. But, I thought, look, I think an old-timey baseball game, like at the turn of the century, like not this century, but like the late 1800s, at like the start of the MLB, where everything was different. Could be a very interesting game as like the game develops around you with the world. And that you're a young player trying to figure out your way into that marketplace because people could get killed. There's a lot of things that can happen late 1800s that cannot happen today.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that could be, for some reason, I'm thinking like mafia type open world gaming here. And I guess you could do that with the start of each league, but baseball in the 1800s is a pretty interesting time period for a lot of different reasons. Hockey too, around that time period, a little bit more interesting. In the old days, traveling across Canada by train to challenge people for the Stanley Cup, or Lord Stanley's Cup at that time before the NHL was founded. But the time period I picked is one that's very interesting to me. This one's actually interchangeable with multiple sports, specifically basketball and hockey. But my adventure open world is navigating the WHA and NHL merger and those two leagues competing with each other and you're a young player that has to decide and go back and forth between leagues. There's money being thrown around. It's the 1970s, so you could have a lot of fun with the people at that time.
Well, I was gonna say, so you're going to the 70s also. Very
I am.
interesting.
I'm thinking a Vice City style GTA game where you have
Nice.
to kind of like again, all four leagues went through some form of merger at this time.
Yeah.
Right? There was competing leagues. So I like the idea of going back and forth and like you cross paths with like old Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky in the WHA before going to the NHL. There's a lot of storylines here. Oh,
Yeah.
your team has run out of money. You need to figure this out. You could even do like a GM mode or like get your WHA team into the NHL, very similar to what like the Hartford Whalers and the Edmonton Oilers did at that time. But that's when I would pick. The 70s is too much of an eccentric time to not have a great game. The problem I have with the turn of the century, I guess I'm saying that because we've had a turn of the century in our lifetime. The problem with the late 1800s is I think it would become a little formulaic. You couldn't go too far. The story would get old. There's no shortage of stories in the 1970s.
Yeah. No,
From
yeah, I
1970 to
agree.
80.
I agree with that. The only thing I could also say is that if you did like maybe the Black Sox scandal in the late 19
Yeah, but that wouldn't be an
teens.
open world to me. That would just be a
No,
game. That would be more
that's fair.
like I said, I want an open world game where I can explore different places.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, or like if you made it that era of Chicago, like then it would be like a mafia game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be interesting. You could incorporate that somehow, throwing games and stuff like that. But no, I agree. In the 70s, the
Best
70s
time.
seemed like such a ripe time period.
Oh, it
with
was.
So much with
It
sports.
was.
Yeah.
We can merge our games together. You're George
Yes.
Steinbrenner trying to bring hockey to Edmonton.
There you go. That could, yeah.
But we want to
know what you think.
We're getting better at that, right?
Yes. Yes. So so formerly, I'm Ray. Again, this is the mashup.
Mashup.
And yeah, we want you guys to know what you think. We both picked the 70s for one for hockey, one
Super
for baseball.
70s sports.
Yes,
You
but
should follow
what
that account
time period,
online.
what sport, what time period, what would you want to do with an open world sports game? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to share, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. You guys know the deal. But yeah, until next time, for Lee, I'm Ray, and this has been the Geeks Who Like Sports Mashup.
Mashup.